Thanks for watching my video here. I wanted to talk to you guys today about a very special guitar. This is an Ovation model 1651, and it was made in the mid-80s, probably around 1984, 1985. It was one of the last limited edition John Lennon models that they made. Officially, this guitar is not called the John Lennon edition. They never really had any marketing around it or anything like that, but it's an incredibly special guitar. It hasn't been in production again in about 34 years. And right now I have this as an excellent example of the guitar itself. It's got the great the headstock, the kind of the five-piece neck, I believe. And also what's really interesting about this guitar is that, and a lot of people don't know this, but there's two different inputs here in the back. So normally with an acoustic electric guitar, you just have the one jack, but this actually has two for stereo or just regular, into an amp or a PA. So I don't know. A lot of people have speculated, why did John Lennon, try this last guitar? In the year 1980, he was recording Double Fantasy, and it ended up being his last studio album that was released, while he was still alive. And this was the guitar that he did a lot of recording with. And you can watch. There's a few pictures of him online if you Google it. Really interesting stuff, and you have to wonder, he could have had any guitar he wanted. He could have had an old Gibson, an SJ200, he could have had all kinds of different stuff, but he chose this guitar. And I've myself have wondered why, and I think for a lot of people, at the time in the late 70s and 80s, Ovation was really at their pinnacle. And just to talk about Ovation really quick, I know they were started in the mid-60s, and it was actually an aeronautical engineer that had put them into production. He used a lot of, he was always an avid guitar player, and he had this aviation company doing a lot of different engineering and such for helicopters and whatnot. And he took that knowledge and his passion for playing the guitar, and in the mid-60s he created the Ovation company. And it was probably around the time that John was making this album, the Double Fantasy album, when he decided that somehow, some way, he got a hold of an Ovation. And at the time, they were pretty advanced guitars. They were used, like Glenn Campbell, I know, has a special edition. Everybody raved about how durable they were. I mean, the construction is pretty outstanding. As you can see, like any Ovation, it has this round back, which is really interesting, and it's got this nice kind of felt area for you to put your leg, or to rest on your leg. And it is a little bit heavy, it's got some electronics in it, pretty advanced stuff for the time. But I think if you were a performer in the late 70s and 80s, you most likely, if you did any acoustic performing, you probably had this guitar in your arsenal. And it makes me wonder, had John lived, and I'd love to open this up for debate if anybody wants to comment or anything like that, but had John Lennon lived, the Ovation company might have taken a whole different direction. I know in the 2000s, Fender bought them up, and they actually closed the factory down, and it just was very sad. I think right now Ovation's owned by a drum company of some sort, but a lot of their models are made overseas. This one was made right in Connecticut, I believe New Hartford, if I'm not mistaken, is where the plant was. And again, in the late 70s, early 80s, they were really at the top of their game. Very advanced engineering for the time. And anyway, I think if John had lived, he and Yoko would have gone on tour to support Double Fantasy. And I think it would have been really amazing, because he would have been on stage with this guitar, and who knows, the company might have taken off even more, and more players would have gotten into them. But I like it a lot. I mean, it's a really nice guitar. It has a really nice full sound. I mean, it really just, it feels good to play. This one's set up real nice. Anyway, I just very grateful for you guys, tuning in for this. When you think of Beatle guitars, you don't think of Ovation. But again, this model was one of the last ones that, last acoustics that John had when he passed away. So for that reason alone, I think it's pretty fantastic. You don't see these every day. I bought it off of a gentleman who had it for about 15 years. And then he got it off of the original owner, but it was in just fantastic shape. I've got a nice Ovation case here with it as well, so if anybody is interested in it, please hit me up, and you know, I'd be open to talking about it. But you know, I've got a few other cool guitars on the wall I might be doing some videos with later. So some Rickenbackers and some other things. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and here's just a little sample from Double Fantasy, okay? I need to practice a little bit more, guys. You'll have to forgive me on that. But anyway, the John Lennon Ovation 1651 model from the mid-'80s, one of the last ones that came out of the factory to my knowledge. Hit me up for more information, and thanks again for watching. Have a great evening.